A happy, prosperous Saturday to each and every one of you.
Give him a howdy.
No, not yet.
Come on.
Howdy, everybody. This is Your Questions, Your Money on the Fox Business Network. I'm Dani McDowell.
I'm Tracy. That is the highlight of the show for me. In this hour, we're talking everything small business. Thinking of starting one? Already have one? You got the blue flame that John Rutledge talks about all the time? Well, you need some advice to take it to the next level? We have a load of answers for you.
So pick up the phone and call us, 877-249-9626, or an email will suffice. The address is yourmoney@foxbusiness.com. But first, we have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. We just received the video feed of Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner's news conference at the G8 summit in Lecce, Italy. Did I say it right, Tracy?
You did. It was good.
Let's take just a listen to a few things that the Treasury Secretary said.
Where we have seen improvements, they are the result of the unprecedented scope and intensity of policy actions put in place to support demand and financial repair. The coordinated recovery programs set in motion in the context of the G20 meetings have helped stem the sharp erosion in business and consumer confidence we saw late last year, and they have begun to turn the global economy around. These improvements are a tribute to the power of cooperation. Central banks moved together, helping to dampen liquidity pressures. Fiscal programs were more effective because they were done on a broad scale across the major economies. The stabilization of conditions in the major financial centers has helped underpin improvements in the flow of capital to emerging markets. The agility and creativity shown by the IMF and the World Bank have released financial resources to those countries where the pressures were most acute, helping mitigate the loss of capital flows and external demand. These early signs of improvement are encouraging, but the global economy is still operating well below potential, and we still face very acute challenges. Growth, therefore, should remain the principal focus of policy among the G8 and among the G20 economies. We need to reinforce the improvement in global demand and continue to lay a foundation for a durable economic recovery. It's too early to shift towards policy restraint. Now, we're making progress on financial reform as well. Next week, we'll outline in the United States proposals for comprehensive reform of our regulatory framework. Because risk does not respect national borders, we will put forward several international proposals in our reform package that will help raise standards globally.
That was Timothy Geithner in Lecce, Italy, with the G8 meeting, and we are the only place that you will see that on a Saturday, because we're the only business network live and here for you on a Saturday. So that was Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner giving a little overview, a small snippet of what was talked about at the G8 meeting. Well, we're talking about rebounding this economy, getting it going again, one person, one business at a time. And our very special guest this hour, the co-founder of Famous Familia Pizzeria, Giorgio Collage. The Collage family opened their first store in New York City in 1986, wasn't it, Giorgio?
Right.
And today the company has locations around the world. So he came from, the family was originally from Kosovo via Italy to the United States. And from there, I want you to take it, because I just want you to tell people the story of how your family wound up here and how you turned just an idea and a passion into a worldwide pizza chain.
Thank you very much. I'd give a little yeehaw as well. I grew up in the South, but in the South Bronx. A little bit different. We had different hee-haws back then.
It gets better in the 1 o'clock hour, actually.
Oh, great.
There's a little more.
After some olive oil. No, thank you very much for that introduction. You're right. I am the son of two Kosovar Albanians. We call it Kosova, but here in the U.S. we call it Kosovo. We are back in the late 60s. When the partisans came in, they came through our village as well. They killed my grandfather. They took my uncle, the firstborn son. They imprisoned him. And, of course, there was a lot of communist pressure on people that didn't want to become communists. There was also some religious pressure as well. So after they took our cattle and killed off some of our people, my father was wise, and he had the guts, quite frankly. Here's a man who was a farmer along with my mother, never had gone to school. Heard you mention earlier about walking barefoot. My father did walk barefoot wherever he had to go, but he had the guts for a farmer who was uneducated with his wife, who had never left Kosovo in his life, to even dream or even dare to think that he could come to America. But, you know, he sold everything off along with my mother. They agreed. At that time, they had 4 children. I hadn't been born yet. And we escaped into Italy, and there, just south of Rome, in a small village called Frosinone. This is where I was born. In September of '69, my father passed away in a tragic accident. He was picking apples for us to eat. 7 weeks after I was born, he fell to his death. But even on his deathbed, he said to my mother, because my mother was thinking of escaping back into Yugoslavia. She had no one in Italy. She had no one in America. Of course, with the communist propaganda, she believed what she heard by the propagandists, which was America's basically Hades. And so she did not want to come to America. But he said to her, and his dying wish to her, he said, "I will haunt you from my grave." Knowing that she's very old-fashioned European, she believed him. But thank God for Italy. When the rest of the world didn't want us, Italy took us, and America after that.
Giorgio, we're going to pick up your story in a second. It's just 6 minutes after the hour, and we just want to say hello to our listeners on Sirius and XM. I'm Dagan McDowell, along with Tracy Burns, and we're taking your questions in the next 2 hours about your business. And our special guest this hour, who was just telling us the story about how his family wound up coming to the United States and how he built, along with his siblings, the famous Familia pizza chain, which you've probably been in one and tasted their delights. But
We need smell TV.
But Giorgio, how did your mother, after your father passed, what was it about America? How did she make it here? How did she get here?
My mother had absolutely no clue as well. My mother didn't speak a word of English. We had 0 relatives in this country. Again, my mother also she can't read today even, so she never even read about America, but she knew that her husband, that was his dying wish. He told her it was better in America because he heard it from someone else. But, thank God and thank Catholic Charities, they had given us a $280 loan. And with that loan, which, by the way, we repaid a couple of years ago with some interest, that was enough. They buried my father in Frosinone. They paid our airline tickets to come over, so that they were very grateful people. We've always been the benefactors of tremendous benevolence from people, from total strangers. And so it's odd that Catholic Charities is honoring us this year with a humanitarian award. I think it's odd because we've been honored really by other people's humanitarianism. And that we should receive it is, to me, it's really beyond my scope of understanding.
But you get here now. You guys have absolutely nothing.
Yes.
One day you wake up and you say, hey, well, let's open a pizza place.
Well, we were on welfare, social services. We had nowhere to go. We landed at Kennedy Airport. So social services came in. Thankfully, my mother spoke a little bit of Italian because in those days, no one spoke Albanian. We now have an Albanian contingency here in New York.
Yeah, the 4 of you.
Yes. Or 6. Now we can have a parade. So. But no, we grew up on welfare in the South Bronx in the projects. And so my mother is a very determined, she may be short in stature, but she was our mother and our father. She was always very strong, and she taught us the things that really matter most in this life. Not about making money, but really about having character, having morals, dealing with people in an honorable way. The basic fundamentals that regardless of what business you go into, our widget happens to be pizza. It could be anything, manufacturing, whatever, regardless of what industry it is. If you deal with people the way you want to be treated, we think that golden rule works very well. But anyway, to fast forward, like most immigrants, the place where you find work most readily will be in the restaurant business. So we all started out, my brothers and I, washing dishes, bussing tables, delivering pizzas. So this was really second nature to us. Plus, we like to eat. We saved our money for about first 13 years in America. We all pooled our money. I started working when I was 6, delivering newspapers, washing cars, selling ice cream, you name it. We did it all. We were hustlers, little hustlers there in the South Bronx. But after having pooled all of our money after 13 years, we opened up our first shop. Unfortunately, we opened up in the wrong place. We opened up in the middle of an Italian neighborhood where every woman in the neighborhood could cook better than we could. So, and they weren't going to spend $4 or $5 for a plate of ziti. So anyhow, within 12 months, we closed that first store. We lost our entire life savings. So for the next 3 years, we got up. We did what Americans do. We got up. We dusted our shirts off. We saved up. We borrowed probably about 90% of the money to open up the next location, which was in 1986. It was our first famous Familia unit in 300 square feet, and thank God, we did very well.
But you didn't, you didn't give up.
But
No.
wait,
You said it didn't, what?
didn't something burn down before that?
Yeah, actually our first famous Familia pizza, within a year, it was doing great, but there was an electrical fire in the building. Unfortunately, it burned down to the ground. Thank God no one got hurt. The very next morning, when the fire department let us come in and clean house, we did that, and we opened up. I think within a month we were completely open, and from then on, every 2 years, for the next 8 years or so, we opened up another pizzeria in New York City. We never had the intent to grow nationwide or now internationally, quite frankly. But over the course of the following 15, 16 years, we were developing the systems that a semblance of systems. So an infrastructure for franchising or protecting our intellectual property, developing our recipes. Because if we were going to go outside of New York, and if we were going to expand through the channel, through a third party, through franchising, we had to, above all else, protect the brand. At the end of the day, yes, we are a pizza company, but at the end of the day, we are a brand. And this is the way we have to operate the business. And so how else to protect that baseline of quality than to develop our own raw materials? So everything from extra virgin first cold pressed olive oil to our pastas, our sauces, our cheeses, our coffee. I mean, we've traveled the world to find the absolute best in terms of each of those raw materials. And many of them are award-winning in and of themselves. And so how many pizzerias out there actually use extra virgin first cold pressed olive oil in their dough? Who but us? But famous familias ship New York water, even to New Jersey, for the preparation of the dough. Sorry, I know one of you from Jersey. Thank you. I have friends from Jersey. I have friends from Jersey.
That's always been the problem with bagels anywhere outside of New York
right.
City.
I have friends and relatives that go, that move to Florida, or not to knock Florida, I love Florida, but the water content is very different. But I mean, we're that religious about the quality of the product.
But you skipped something because you went away to college and you worked at IBM for 7 years.
Yes.
You also started a software company, but you came back.
Yes, I did.
What'd you come back with?
I came back, first of all, I came back with my heart to my best friends and my brothers. So I've always wanted to work with them. They gave me the opportunity to go to school. I took advantage of that. I completed my degrees in engineering and computer science and business. I went to work for IBM, which I consider to be the Ferrari of the IT industry. Anyway, I worked there for 7 years in the finance and banking sector within IBM Global Services, selling large-scale technical solutions. And then I decided I would go and I'm an entrepreneur at heart. It was too comfortable for me at IBM. I needed something difficult. So I went out and researched a startup company that had, it was a technology company, it was a product company without a product, which I really liked. And we had to raise some capital. So I joined that group, 4 Israeli guys from Israel, and you know what? 3 years later, we sold the company. We had clients all over the world. We had offices all over the world. And then I had to make a decision. Do I stay in high tech, which was treating me very well? But you know, I thought of my brothers and the sacrifice that they made for me. So it was only the right thing to do, and I'm glad I did that. No regrets.
So now, how many stores?
At that time, we had about 12 units. Today, we have well over 120 around the world. We're throughout the U.S., including Alaska and Hawaii. We're in Mexico. We're in China. We're negotiating deals now throughout the world, multi-development deals in the Middle East and other countries.
I was going to ask you where's next and what's
I
next?
think India, other parts of Europe, China, the greater China area and the Southeast Asia present wonderful opportunities. By the way, we're growing very well here in the United States. Last year was our best year, even through a recession.
Is that how you measure success, growth?
You know, that's one way in which you measure success. For us personally, as a family, I tell you, we have a tremendous American dream, and that's what's great about this country. There are millions of them. We're nothing special in that sense, of course, but the American dream is still very special. It burns very bright. I get to travel around the world, and people still believe in the American dream, and we need to let people know that it still exists. Actually, I think we need to let Americans know that it still exists, especially in this economy.
And that's why we're here.
Thank you.
And that's why we're thankful you're here. I think that you said it best.
Thank you.
We're gonna answer your questions coming up. Again, Giorgio, I said earlier, I'm gonna cry, and when they put that photo of your mom and those boys, I was like pinching my leg and gritting my teeth. So I'm gonna don't do that.
All right.
I'm gonna compose myself. We'll be right back,
Looks
everybody.
like my family,
Tell them how
too.
to reach us.
Any Italian has that picture, though. That's probably why I'm not crying.
Tell them how to reach us.
You can call us. You can email us. We're here to answer your questions about your money. 877-249-9626. You can always email us, yourmoney@foxbusiness.com. Lot more to come. I'm going to bring my little family Italian picture. You'll see. They all look the same. They're all wearing the same hat and scarf. Hey, happy Saturday. Welcome back to the Fox Business Network. I'm Tracy Burns along with Dagan McDowell. I really wish you could smell what's on the set. Giorgio Collage from Famous Familia Pizza is here. He brought so much food. We're eating it.
It looks delicious. But we've got Giorgio here and an all-star panel of people to answer your questions about starting, growing, expanding a business. 877-249-9626 is the number. Joining us again from San Francisco is venture capitalist Andrew Williamson of Physic Ventures. It's so great of you to be back with us. Nice to see you in studio, of course. He needs no introduction.
My pleasure. Nice to be back.
Good to see you. John Rutledge is here in studio, a man who needs no introduction, of Rutledge Capital. Dani Babb, businesswoman extraordinaire, entrepreneur extraordinaire of the Babb Group, right?
Right.
What's it, babbgroup.com?
Babbgroup.com, and you can actually chat during the show.
And financial advisor, the money coach, Lynette Calfani-Cox is here also to inspire you. And of course, Giorgio Collage, the founder of Famous Familia Pizza. Let's get right to an email, something that, Giorgio, you can answer. John has written in, I'd like to open a restaurant, but don't have much saved. Where can I go look for financing?
That's a good question, John. For us, it was a matter of every penny that we had saved, and we fell short about 90%, quite frankly, even to open up a 300 square foot pizzeria in New York City. We turned to Uncle Louis. So we turned to our brother-in-law, who he was gracious enough. I remember clearly, it's a great story because it was a number that my three brothers and I could not even fathom. Again, it was 900 times what we were able to save. But he said on our opening day, he said, listen, if you fail, if you can't pay me back, it's washed, and don't worry. And of course, I'm not sure if you have a brother-in-law like that who was gracious enough. I know that, especially in this economy, it may be difficult to go out and get a loan. I would say really, look at your local resources. I mean, the SBA can help.
But one of the things you said before is that every penny you made from one store, you saved to buy the next.
Yes.
And then every penny you made from those two, you saved to buy another, and just kept going. So you never lived off anything.
No, that's
self-funded.
a great point, Tracy. We have the Henry Ford mentality. I mean, we were still living in an apartment in the Bronx, in a Mitchell-Lama building, and we had 5 pizzerias at that time in New York City, doing well, thank God. And people were wondering, our relatives were wondering, are these guys doing well or not? This doesn't make any sense. I mean, one of the brothers is now married.
Where's the Cadillac?
I had my rickshaw back then, but I had at least nice folks. But no, they were wondering, you had 3 bedrooms, a mother, 4 boys, 1 is married. But it's exactly, we were always not penny pinchers, but we had to be prudent. And you know what? We'd rather feed the business because we always felt, we're long-term guys. We've never had even a liquid event for ourselves, even until today, 23 years later. One of the greatest joys that we have as a family and as people is that we have been, I'd like to say, without sounding arrogant, that we have been instrumental in developing quite a few American dreams from people that have come from all over the world, not just Eastern Europe, from communist countries, but from South America and other areas. And so that's how we measure success. Someone asked me earlier, how do we measure success? That's our greatest measurement. But you're right, we have continued to, and we do continue to reinvest in our business.
I'm going to open this up. Should somebody, John, Dani, Lynette, should somebody wait to start a business if it's going to, or should you go out and finance? Should you really just save, or can you get financing to start a restaurant?
Well, no, Giorgio said it best. In order to get somebody to finance you, you have to have someone believe in you, and usually it's someone you know. If you can get financing from a stranger, God bless you. But strangers can be pretty tough, and they don't really believe yet. Because they've got to believe you're going to try. They've got to believe you're not going to steal the money. If you lose the money, maybe it's okay because you can try again. But that belief is the thing. And saving in your own behavior is the way to show and get people to believe.
Yeah, we've talked here a few times about whether it's a good idea to use family money or not. And I'm still, in general, not a big fan. I think it works out well in some cases like yours. But in general, I see more people have family tensions and stress and then close the business than I do positive results from that. So I think your idea of going to local resources, including the SBA, which is now lending again, thank God, and trying to get money there, particularly since they have a 10% down loan, which seems to answer the question. 10% is not too much. Also, check out companies that are not banks, are not SBA lenders like Mercantile in South Florida, which is lending to places that have a brick and mortar location like a restaurant.
If you also think about local lenders, maybe the community bank in your area, maybe a credit union, or maybe a bank that specializes in small business loans to your specific industry. If it is, for example, a restaurant, or if it's perhaps a retail clothing operation. It could be any industry, but if you go with a lender that kind of knows that industry, I think your shot is a little bit better in terms of getting financing as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, because sometimes they'll actually help you package what you need to submit to the SBA. That's right.
Exactly.
So again, local, you get service that way.
All right, well, we have more answers to your questions ahead, so keep those calls and emails coming.
We got the pitch coming up in a little while.
Oh, I
and
love that.
Oh, this one's going to be a doozy. Andrew's here to field this pitch, but it dovetails nicely with the
Georgia.
famous familia business. That's right. It's all coming up here on the Fox Business Network, live on a Saturday and in true HD every day, every weekend. We'll be right back.
Hey, welcome back. Happy Saturday. We're taking questions about your small business, your entrepreneurial spark, the blue flame, as John Rutledge likes to call it. We got Mike from Maryland on the phone. Hey, Mike, what's your question?
I have developed a couple spice rubs. I went to a culinary college in Baltimore, and all my friends, I did a little catering. Everyone said it was amazing. They loved it. And yet, I never found a way to finance it or get, the ball rolling. How does one get a spice company or somebody like that to get involved with your idea, or the spice rubs and marinades and stuff that I've developed? I went to a culinary school and got awards for these things.
This is good
Marketing.
for someone like me who doesn't have to actually create the spice rub, right, Dani?
Right, exactly. Well, there's a few things that you can do. First of all, you're going to want to test market this thing. So I would check out some sites like Zoomerang, where you can actually get the product out there and then get survey results back. Take it to the fair. You're going to want more than just your friends' opinions, in other words. So take it to a fair, take it to some local restaurants, take it. Remember, in the old days, my dad, he delivered bread, and they would have little stands set up inside the grocery stores where everybody would try and taste the thing and get some market research that way. So I would try to get more market data first of all, because you're going to need that regardless of the type of method that you use to pursue capital. If the thing's a success and people still really like it after you've got it all tweaked out, then I would try to bring it into some local stores that might have some interest in displaying the product for you for a few weeks. Start to build up some momentum that way, and then from then you would use more guerrilla marketing tactics and get it out there more en masse. Start advertising about it. Start putting it in more restaurants. Get restaurant owners to use it. Get it in more stores, more places.
Giorgio, you certainly know a thing or two about building a brand. What advice would you have for somebody just getting started out?
I was thinking my response would be very close to Dani's. With a product like rubs and spices, I would imagine, and this is not our business, our core business, but I would imagine that this is something that you would really want to do. I sort of think of cookies and Mrs. Fields at a grassroots level. I mean, to really get penetration in your local market, to get people buzzing about your product. And I think eventually, I believe that if it's a great product and people really adopt and adapt to it, that it'll grow like wildfire, and you will have people coming to you.
And don't think that, when sometimes I think people get a little unnerved when we say start local, grassroots. They say, oh, you're trying to tell me to be small. I want to be big. I want to be global. Actually, that grassroots, that word of mouth is phenomenal, because if you can own that one area, that niche can spread like crazy. And especially in today's environment over the web, you get people blogging about it. You get places like maybe, the Daily Candy or something sending out an email to all of their subscribers saying, oh, this is hot, this product or service. And then next thing you know, it is a bigger national brand.
Last week we had Jordy and Sherry on about the bailout game. I just got an email from Jordy, and Jordy says they went home last week after a similar question and went to every business in their small town and got the product in the business window. They also put the business's logo on their website for free, so they can build a little life raft of people. You have to be small before you can get big. Whatever's left over after the business gets first choice.
Or for a few years at least.
Yeah.
Tiny and getting bigger, but what advice do you have for our spice rub?
Consumer branded food and beverage products recently. Actually, we have an incubator at our fund called Brand New Brands that we've used to do exactly this. And I would country, then you've got a little bit more opportunity to grow it and defend against other people coming in and copying it. So I would look into that as well.
Georgia, do people come into your
Thank you.
stores and ask and say, "Hey, I got a better tomato sauce"?
Yes, of course we get that every once in a while, but you know what, we will look at anything, of course. We're going to always want to redefine ourselves and at least look introspectively to make sure that we're doing the right thing by what people really want.
Oh, we've got something coming up that you're going to have to look at.
Great.
It's a better box.
It better not be a sauce.
It's part of the pitch, right, Tracy?
Yep. It's actually the coolest graphic on the whole network, by the way. More answers to your questions ahead. So call us, 877-249-9626. You can always email us, yourmoney@foxbusiness.com.
Up next, one entrepreneur takes his out-of-the-box idea to our venture capitalist with a big-time pitch. So Andrew Williamson of Physic Ventures, he's going to field the pitch. And Giorgio Collage is sitting there from Famous Familia. We'll see if we can match seller and buyer. Perhaps. That's coming up next on the Fox Business Network. Today, getting the chance to pitch his or her business to a venture capitalist. Today, our lucky entrepreneurs are William Walsh and Ned Kinsing. They're joining us in studio to pitch their idea to venture capitalist Andrew Williamson from Physic Ventures. It also dovetails nicely with our featured guest from Famous Familia Pizzas, Giorgio Collage as well. So guys, take it away, pitch away.
Well, my name is William Walsh, and I am the CEO of Eco Incorporated. Eco Incorporated is a design company that tears along these perforations. And folds in half to store a half a pizza in a refrigerator, and then disposes in a very small recycling bin. So it is manufactured, again, from 100% recycled and recyclable material. And we can provide this. We are tooling up nationwide with a company called Pratt Industries, and they have 6 locations. And we are currently in the process, as I said, in the tooling process, and can manufacture this box tomorrow.
Ned, how much money have you raised? How much do you want to raise?
We ideally want to raise for the first 3 months about $250,000.
How much money have you already put into it?
What would you say? Well, we'd probably put in close to 300,000.
Andrew, why don't you just go ahead and ask away, ask some questions, and what you want to know from these guys as this pitch develops.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, just as some intro, I would say, guys, congratulations. I think you've really picked the timing right here.
Thank you.
And you've also got lucky with the VC you're pitching to. So at Physic, we invest quite a lot of money on behalf of the consumer goods and food and beverage packaging companies. And I lead up actually our sustainable packaging and materials practice, so I'm quite familiar with this space. If you speak to any of the sustainability officers at the leading consumer goods companies, they're going to tell you that the 2 issues they're most concerned about from a sustainability or environment perspective are materials and water. And I think you've probably got a solution here that can help them address both of those. First of all, you've got this 100% recycled material piece, and also you've got this piece about using the lid as plates so you don't have to dispose of paper plates or wash up any additional plates. So I guess my first question would be, how big a deal is this? And from a technical perspective, we talk about what's called a life cycle assessment. And what I want to know is, if, say, Domino's Pizza switched over to using your boxes for all of their pizza delivery, how many million trees would be saved every year? How many gallons of water would no longer be used for washing up? Because if that's quite compelling, then they can make that and they can use that as a branding issue. The second big question I would have would be, I want to double check that the box can be used in exactly the same way as existing boxes are being used now and at the same price point. Because one of the big feedbacks that we get from both consumers and companies is that everybody wants to move to greener alternatives, but they're not really willing to pay a premium for it, and they're not really willing to change their behavior in order to do that. So it seems like you have something that fits in there, but I'd like to hear that. And then have you run some numbers to see how big a deal this would be from an environmental perspective?
Yes, we have. In fact, I have an environmental impact analysis, a cursory environmental impact analysis. We have a complete analysis that's being prepared by Columbia University currently. But for example, 50 billion, we broke it down into 50 million boxes, 100 million boxes, 250 million boxes, 1 billion boxes, and then the entire market, which is 2.37 billion. Right. And if we just got 50 billion of these boxes into circulation, we would save 208,250 trees. That's 1,041 acres of land, 85,750,000 gallons of water, 50,225,000 kilowatts of energy, 110,833 barrels of oil, and 39,200 cubic yards of landfill. And that's 50 million. If every single pizza box was a green box, you would save 9,871,050 trees, which is 49,355 acres of land, 4,064,555,000 gallons of water, 2,380,665 kilowatts of energy, 5.2 million barrels of oil, 1,858,000 cubic yards of landfill.
Andrew?
That sounds very impressive. And first of all, I'd say it sounds like you've done your homework, so congratulations. And we get a lot of companies who come in and pitch these type of products, and they haven't done that homework, so you're ahead of the queue. I have a few questions about margins and price and cost and things, but we don't want to do that on the air, so we can talk offline about that. My other big question would be thinking about business model going forwards. There are some very successful companies, for example, Tetra Pak, who've built a $10 billion business around manufacturing and selling the equipment for manufacturing sustainable packaging. Do you want to be in that business, or do you want to be more in the design of novel packaging solutions and then licensing business? Because they're very different models, and one is more capital intensive than the other. So have you given some thought to that? Because that obviously affects how much money you need to raise.
Oh, yes, we have. We're initially we'd like to stick more with the business model of doing design and coming up with solutions, because we understand the capital investment for a manufacturing company is far greater than a design company.
Great. I think that's the right choice, and that's the one that's definitely more scalable and more venture investable. Then my next level of diligence would be to start to talk to some customers, and you have one in the audience there, so I'd love to hear their thoughts on whether they'd like to use this box and how they would present that to consumers and take advantage of this green benefit that they could offer as a business.
Giorgio?
Yes, ma'am. What's interesting is
So you're going to use this box, or why the hell not?
We could definitely use this box. And
Right.
I have to say, I took a look at
Saturday. We're taking your questions about your money. Isn't it time, little Howdy?
No, I already did one.
We'll get another
Earlier
one.
in
Don't
the hour.
worry, we'll get another one. All right, we got an email from Tom. He writes in, is becoming a franchisee a smart move? Giorgio?
Well, he's
Absolutely,
selling
yes.
franchises, so.
And not only because of that, that's one reason for sure. Tom, that's a very good question. I think, especially in uncertain times like we live today, in difficult economic times, you want to minimize your risk. You want to chase mitigating your risk. I think one of the smartest ways to do that with a new business, especially a venture that you may not be familiar with, is franchising. Because one of the value benefits, one of the value propositions that you receive by franchisors, they've gone through the aches and pains to a great degree. They've spent the monies, they've lost the money, they've lost opportunity. And so this is what a good franchisor ought to be helping you protect yourself with.
Some other benefits, too, that are wonderful. One is you're going in with a brand, an established brand. You don't have to sort of create it from scratch. You've got the infrastructure and the support system that's already there. Obviously, like you said, the fact that they've already gone through it, that experience means that that'll be fewer dollars that you lose in the process. And so I think franchising is a great model for a lot of people out there who want to be entrepreneurs.
But it can be so dangerous. It can be for the person if they wind up with the wrong company, with the wrong chain,
Wrong
it can
matchup.
Right.
Yeah, I think the answer to this is it depends. John and I are writing an article on this for The Street that's going to be out in the next couple of weeks on franchising. And one of the things that we talk about is, do you want to adopt someone else's brand, or do you have a passion to create your own brand? And if you really want to use your own creativity and turn this business into something you want it to be, you're not going to have the capability to do that in most franchises. So that's something to consider. What you potentially lose is your own mojo coming into the business. You can market it and you can spend time on sales and really getting it out there, but it's not the same in my perspective as really the ownership thing. It doesn't feel the same for a lot of people that we talk with. So the answer is it depends. If you just want to get something running up and quick and you don't want to worry about the branding and the marketing and getting your sales force trained, the franchisor will do that, which is a great benefit. But if you really want that thing inside that gets you going, I would really consider that.
John?
It's always true with jobs, with investing, in business, is getting the right match is what it's really all about. Some people want to go out there and put their fingerprints on everything and start their own brand. Some people just want to get out of working for somebody else, have their own business, autonomy, control, and make some money. But I'd be interested, Giorgio, I was one of the investors in IHOP long ago, and they were really a pioneer in the idea of helping the franchisee finance the franchise, because typical deal is the franchisor the guy writes a check for 50 grand or some number, and that puts him in business, but sometimes they don't have it, and sometimes they do have the energy to build that business for you. Do you have any way of helping them when they say, I'd love to do it, but I don't have the money?
This is a good question. We don't currently offer at Famous Familia financing assistance. Really, if you look at our paradigm of how we go to market, our route to market strategy with regard to franchising, is if you would imagine a pyramid, and at the top of the pyramid, and sliced in really 3 sections. At the top, you have
like
smaller,
a pizza.
Yeah, sort of. You like to slice the pizza thing. I like the way you think.
Yeah.
But at the very top, it's a smaller piece of real estate, meaning it's fewer types of partners. These are our global partners, our tier 1 partners. These are partners that have really global reach. They're typically multi-billion-dollar company with annual turnovers, with global reach and infrastructure. We have wonderful companies like this, like HMS Host and others around the world. Then we consider tier 2s, which are more of your area developers. These are types of organizations that have demonstrated capability in delivering successfully brands or foreign brands into their geo markets. And these are typically companies that could successfully penetrate a market, let's say a country or a number of countries or a region within a country. And we have successful area developers, master franchisees that fit that category. The third category, the way we define this paradigm, is what laymen would call mom and pop shops. We don't actively market to mom and pop shops, not that there's anything wrong with that. However, we have to determine for ourselves as a company at this point of our continuum of growth, where do we invest our resources? And so we feel that with the tier 1s and the tier 2s, we can have a greater global reach, which will precipitate, hopefully, over the course of time, the attention and momentum from these tier 3s.
It'll go down to the crust, that third tier of the pizza there.
That's the best part.
It'll move on down there. Yeah.
Andrew, do you have any advice?
I think I'd echo a lot of the comments. I mean, we see quite a few folks in this sector who've come out of the franchisee model, and they've used it as a training vehicle, just as the tech guys go to IBM or Intel before launching their own business. I think it can be a useful training vehicle, but certainly the upside for the entrepreneur is very limited when you're sitting within a franchise model.
And there are a lot of websites now that you can use, and there are communities out there that can tell you the experiences of people who run franchises, the good, the bad, and what can be the ugly. And they've got incredible information out there. And we'll get some of them up on the Fox Business website for you.
And we've had a few on that actually help veterans. So there are some programs out there for people if they're interested.
Okay. All right, we're taking more of your questions coming up. And in the next hour, we're also going to be talking about starting, running, growing, building your own business. 877-249-9626 or the email, Tracy Burton.
Your money at foxbusiness.com. And if you have to run an errand, you can listen to us on Sirius Channel 145 or XM Channel 168. We'll be right back. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Fox Business Network. We're live, we're up, we're answering your questions, we're having a good time. We got Rick from California on the phone. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, you guys. First of all, let me thank you guys for doing this program. You are awesome.
Thank you. So are you, Rick. What's your question?
Well, I've been trying, I patented a software program, and I think it would create a competitive advantage for one of the game manufacturers, Xbox, Nintendo, or whatever. Haven't been able to get in to talk to them. I really don't even know where to start. But simply put, it's a patented software program that is designed to temporarily interrupt a computer or gaming machine and force the user to participate in some form of mastery learning. And it has feedback systems built into it, blindly emails results to the teacher and the like.
Who wants to take Andrew, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, I can make a few comments. I mean, this is an area where we're seeing a lot of growth, kind of the educational side of gaming, and there's a lot of companies cropping up in this space that actually we think are very attractive, and we've looked at several investments. So I think it's a good idea. In terms of getting access to Sony, PlayStation, Nintendo, and the rest, that you're going to have to use through your network. I mean, if we were to invest as a venture capitalist, obviously that's one of the things that we can bring to a company is that kind of access and context. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult as an entrepreneur to get access, and I don't have any direct suggestions on how you would go about doing that, other than just reaching out towards your network using things like LinkedIn to see who you know in those companies.
Sandy, what if you start bringing it to schools and like local boys club?
You can do that. I had a similar product. It was a hardware product, actually, back in the early 90s. And the way I got to the R&D departments at Netgear and Linksys was honestly just to show up at the company and not be willing to leave until I talked to someone. So that's
or
certainly an
security
option.
asks security out.
Well, when you're just a little chick, you can kind of get away with a little bit more.
Yeah, you're a lot better looking than I. So.
Thank you. I would check out ventureblog.com. They have a list of venture capitalists that will help you, and other people that have used VCs help you get into big companies. That's a website I would check out, and then also the Go Big Network, of course, we've talked about here before. But both of them have contacts for people at different organizations that helped them be successful in something that you're trying to do.
Giorgio actually started where you worked at IBM and then started your own software company. So any advice to the...
Well, those days were like the Wild West. It was a little bit easier. But, I was just...
It wasn't in the 80s.
It wasn't too long ago. But, in addition to what Dani had just mentioned, I was just thinking to myself, especially with something about education. I think I'm a parent now, but I think all parents, especially with education, I don't know that I would hold back any amount of money, time, or effort or energy from my daughter. With regard to education in particular. But I think if you go to your local congressman, I think that, I'm the kind of guy, again, I've got that Bronx inside of me. I'm a little bit of a hustler, so I would do what Dani does, and I'm certainly not as good looking, but you know what, I will be there until I annoy someone, until someone takes me in. Or I would really expand my network. I mean, I'm out there in political functions. I'm out there in, do a lot of charitable causes, not to make connections, but those are some of the value-added benefits that come from being involved in communities. And it's amazing the people that you meet, how involved they are in a variety of different industries.
There are investors people who've made fortunes who are very grateful and support projects like this. In the investment world, Paul Allen is legendary from Microsoft for financing education businesses and tech education in particular. Mike Milken does the same thing at the Milken Institute. And those are places you can go to the website, get in, and they love things that educate people, especially through technology. Also, this kind of thing, if you went to the Verizon Foundation has a website called Thinkfinity that's free resources for teachers, and the foundation exists to support educational projects, and it wouldn't hurt them either. They're located here in New York. That's in 42nd Street. That's an easy one. But I would look for guys who would love this and have the money, not just guys who have money.
Yeah, it's also amazing how many people are willing to help you in blogs and forums. You know, in groups at yahoo.com, for example, I have an online teaching forum, and people will say, I'm really trying to get in to XYZ school, and can you help me out? And people will email them directly with the dean's contact information. So that's where the networking part that Giorgio talks about comes in.
Giorgio, so I want some final words of inspiration.
Well, my brothers and I are very big on the American dream. It's, you know, I tell my 11-year-old daughter, I say, you know, Camila, the greatest gift that you've ever been given in life, the greatest one that you could be given, was given to you by a man you never met, a man that I never knew, my father, who decided to, on a whim, quite literally, come to this country, to risk it all. And I think, regardless of whether you're trying to take a piece of patented software or a cardboard box that folds up, or a pizza shop, regardless of what your widget is or what your service is, you know, I think you must have some fundamental attributes about yourself as a person. You have to be, and it is a blue flame. Sometimes it gets red and yellow, but I think it ought to be blue. It ought to burn you and burn you hard. You have to be passionate about what you do. I never met a successful person who wasn't passionate, ever. I've met passionate people that didn't succeed, because that can happen as well. I've never met a person who was not passionate who succeeded. That I've never met. But you know what? You do find those winners that emerge, especially in times like this. These are difficult times, but I always say these are exactly the moments when winners are defined. This is when you can do it. My goodness, you are in America. There's no greater place on earth for you to be, especially in difficult times, to make something happen. And I think we all are extremely grateful to be here in this country. I know my family and I certainly are. We could have worked this hard or even harder somewhere else and have not made it.
There's that picture again.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Stop looking at it then.
I started with tears and ended on them.
I was born in that house in the background. That's where my father died, and so that's where my mother delivered me. My aunt actually delivered me in a room up on the 3rd floor. So
Giorgio
God bless
Collage,
her.
famous familia. Thank
God
you
bless
so
America.
much for being
Thank you
here.
all. Thank
Lynette Calfani Cox, thank you. John and Danny, they stay. Andrew Williamson, it was a pleasure from Physic Ventures, as always. And it was,
Andrew.
what timing for you to be here. Well, we've got more time. You stay with us. We're going to be right back. If you're not awake yet, well, shame on you. Or
Go, it's 1 o'clock, do it.
no, I'll do it at 1:30. A big
You gotta
welcome
wait.
to everybody. A big howdy. I'll do a full-blown Southern howdy coming up. This is your questions, your
1:30,
money.
I'm marking my watch.
That's Tracy Burns. I'm Dagan McDowell. We want to hear from you about your business. What inspires you? What do you want to do with your life? Are you stuck in a job that you don't want anymore? Are you ready to go out on your own? We will tell you how to do it. If you're already in business, we have incredible people here to tell you how to grow it.
It's been amazing. Last hour was so amazing, and this one's going to be just as well. Put down that cup of coffee, or actually pour yourself more. Pour more coffee, watch, call us, 877-249-9626. You can always email us, yourmoney@foxbusiness.com.
If you haven't gotten your day off right, meet our next guest. They are business moms taking the world of spinning to a new level. You heard me right. Joining us now are Elizabeth Cutler and Julie Rice, the founders and owners of Soul Cycle. And ladies, when I know the business, I have to admit it is a spinning gym here in New York City, and you might take issue with the word gym, and you have a branch that you run out in the Hamptons during the summer, right? I read about it and I thought, I can't think of a tougher business. Why would you want to do it? Why did you get into it?
Well, we opened Soul Cycle about 3 years ago, and for both of us, it was a passion, actually. I had been working in Los Angeles in a really stressful job. And it was the sort of one exercise that I had found that really sort of took my mind off of exercising and allowed me to just get in the music. And it sort of changed the way that I could focus and be consistent with my exercise. And I moved back to the East Coast and really looked for an experience that recreated some of that joy and just could not find it. And a mutual friend introduced Elizabeth and I because we had each separately been talking about having this vision of what we thought indoor cycling could be. We thought it could evolve even further than what we had each experienced, and yet, you know, hang on to sort of that, you know, mental release as well as sort of physical accomplishment. And so we opened SoulCycle, and we took what people traditionally sort of refer to as spinning, and we changed the workout, and now we incorporate, it's a 45-minute cycling class, but we also have added 1-pound weights. We work on our upper bodies, we do abdominal crunches, we move back and forth on the bike, and we do it all in candlelight, set to amazing music. We're dancing on those bikes for 45 minutes, and it is completely inspirational, and people have become addicted.
Do you both teach?
Neither of us do.
Okay. Now here's my question, because I actually thought it was a genius idea, because I work out at home, and every now and then would just love to go take a spin class or cycle class, and can't because I need some big blown out gym membership to get into some club. But Manhattan is crawling with gyms. I mean, they're everywhere, right? What gave you the gumption to open yet another one?
At SoulCycle, what we found was that we weren't getting what we wanted in the gyms. Gyms typically look at group exercise as a profit loss. And so we felt that if we could create something where actually the classes were a profit center, then we could really invest in our employees, we could invest in our facilities, we could invest in our software, we could really invest in the business and do it really, really well.
What about the startup cost? Because again, how do you structure the memberships? Is it somehow different from other gyms? Just the rent in New York City alone will knock the wind out of you.
Well, we are on a pay-per-class model because we actually sort of believed that, you know, we could deliver an experience each time that would have people wanting to come back for more. And so, you know, when we did first start the business, it's funny, we used to get phone calls all day long at the front desk. Why would I pay per class for your spin? You know, my membership includes spinning. And that we literally...
At least you were getting the phone calls.
We fielded them all day long. And really, I mean, at that point, it was us answering the phones, and we would say, come try one. And if you're really disappointed and you never want to come back again, we'll give you your money back.
I mean, you've tapped into something, though, that's really important, that people maybe have grown sick of the membership and all the hoops you have to jump through and the cost and just the headaches, frankly, a lot of people have run into with these giant chain gyms. If they ever want to get out, it's, you know, you have to give them your firstborn and your second and third to get out of the membership. And did that go into your thinking at all when you started it?
You know, I think what we wanted to do was just to provide a great product, and as the business has grown, I think at SoulCycle the fun thing is that people, and especially in these economic times, people want to have something where they feel like they're paying for value. They're really getting something good for their money. And that is really what we all live by. I mean, the group that we created there inside the business is really committed to providing incredible customer service, making sure that people have an extraordinary experience every time they come through the door. So if that's what we do, then they will come back, and there's no, I mean, our retention rate since we opened has really been mind-boggling. It's extraordinary.
How high is it? How high is it?
We're in the 90th percentile.
That's really unbelievable.
And I know we got a break, but I think it's a genius model right now. For one, just for my own personal reasons, but two, I don't want to commit $1,000 to a gym, or people don't.
She's your target audience. We're just going to take a quick break because it's 6 minutes after the hour. Everybody, time to welcome our radio listeners on Sirius and XM. Thank you for joining us. I'm Daga McDowell along with Tracy Burns.
Happy Saturday. If you have a question about starting your own small business, big business, any business, we want to hear from you. Email us at yourmoney@foxbusiness.com. You can always call us 877-249-9626.
Before we reintroduce our illustrious panel, Elizabeth Cutler and Julie Rice from SoulCycle are with us. And Elizabeth and Julie, either one of you can answer this question. How is business? Because you started at what was the peak of the financial boom here in the
Right.
U.S. in 2006. So how is business holding up?
Because it's a $34 fee per class.
It is.
Okay.
Our business has held up very, very well. And, it's funny that you mentioned that because the problem that we had was we couldn't grow in New York City. The rents went crazy right after we opened. We got our first location. We were so frustrated we couldn't find space. And we ended up finding it on Craigslist. And it's this sort of speakeasy, and we don't even have a sign. And it was something we wanted to grow immediately, and we just timed the market wrong. We could not get in. And one of the wonderful things that happened for us was that we found a way for us to be able to bring our company in and get the systems really strong and make sure that what we were providing was really great, create training programs for all of our employees, create a way that we could really make the business strong so that now when we're able to sign other leases, we're going to have 5 locations in total by the end of 2009.
Wow.
How did you finance it to start it?
It's actually kind of a great story. You work and you
Because
say...
I think a lot of, I don't know how much money you had to lay out just for the initial equipment, but I look at it and think it's...
Listen, it's expensive to start a business. It just is. And for us, what we were lucky with was that we wanted to do it, and I had happened to have saved some money, and a very, very, very dear friend of mine started a drink company. At the very beginning, it was called Izzy, sparkling fruit juices, and I begged him to put money in, and he said, no, I don't want to lose your money. I am not taking your money. I love you. I'm not taking it. And they ended up they needed the money. So a week later, we wired the money, and 7 years, it actually wasn't 7 years, but a few years later, the company was sold to Pepsi for $75 million. So now my take of that was not substantial at all, but it did provide us with the seed money to be able to invest. So I think the point is that for your viewers is if you come into a tax rebate or if you come into some kind of money and you really are inspired to start a business, there's a way that you can take something that you have, whether it's savings, whatever it is, pool it together like the person in the last hour and really make it something that's your own. And that's what we did.
I want to go to class. I was supposed to come this morning. Things got a little screwed up.
She tried to rope me into coming to cycle class this morning. But we get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and long Tracy and I are working. I'm like, I'll be red-faced and exhausted by the time we're on the air. So we will come. But right now, we really want to just reintroduce John Rutledge, who you know well, needs no introduction. Dani Babb is here of the Babb Group. How many businesses have you started?
Too many.
In your very short life? Dozens? You have to count. You have to count.
I do count them.
And joining us now from Palo Alto, California, venture capitalist Spencer Tall, managing director of Allegis Capital, who has invested in some incredibly interesting businesses, Spencer, over the years. Thank you for being here. And you're going to field our pitch coming up, which dovetails nicely with what you do as well. But again, it's an incredible story because, again, when I was looking at, ladies, the business that you started, maybe I was, throwing out the negative, but I thought this is a tough business to start. And did anything ever get in your way of thinking when you were putting it together? Did you have doubt, or there was no doubt?
We've always loved this business, and we do joke around. It's sort of we always say it's lucky, even though we work maybe 150 hours a week. But we really, we really have all along the way. We have sort of gotten the little pushes that we needed just when we did. I mean, we've worked hard for all of them, but we really never lost faith in it. We always just stayed committed to what we saw that the business could be. We have constantly and consistently taken all of the profits that we make, and we are reinvesting them in the business. That's the way we're self-funding our business to continue to grow it. It's always been our belief that if we continue to evolve the product, when you think about retention, I mean, you don't retain your customers by just giving them the same thing. I mean, you have to consistently get better, even if you're full.
But I think you guys. Your backgrounds are all the more important to this. I've been involved in the fitness industry since I was 16, on and off in many shapes or forms. I've seen people, dare I say, and I'm from Jersey because I can, big muscle heads try to open gyms with no background. Just because you can lift weights doesn't mean you can run a gym. And next thing you know, the things are closed and they're big empty warehouses again. And I think it's a really important point for people out there, too, that the business acumen is so important, no matter what you're doing, what your widget is, as Giorgio said, pizza, gym, you name it. You need to have some sort of business sense about this, or you can spin yourself into the ground.
I think you're right. I mean, also, you have to be the user. You have to think about what your user is going to experience. So one thing that we did that was very important in the beginning that nobody else did was that we created a software system. We decided to invest in a custom software system so that people could log on to our website, reserve any bike in the room that they wanted. Some people like to be in the front, some people like to be in the back, some people want to come 3 times a week, some people want to come on the weekends. And so we made it easy for them to do that. And I think that if you
keep New Yorkers away from each other, it's a good idea. Anything they can do electronically, because you're going to wind up with the ladies having some fist fights and elbows in the face, and they're fighting, right? Right?
You cannot even imagine how fanatical people
Yes,
are.
I can.
Oh, yes, I know. We have to go to break, but we got to talk about your juices too when we get back, because you're expanding into juice.
So up next, we also have another
on the bikes.
There are a lot of ladies on the show in this hour, and we love it. An entrepreneur gets her chance to pitch her idea to our venture capitalists. It's a business directed at women and travel. That's coming up as well. You don't want to miss it. You stay right there. We're going to be right back. That's coming up. We're not going to do the pitch right now because we only have 2 minutes, and that is not.
It's still the
enough.
coolest graphic on the network.
Yeah, Tracy would just roll this.
I'm going to keep telling you that. I think it is the coolest graphic on the network, and ideally, we should be playing yesterday's disastrous Mets dropping the pitch while we simultaneously show ours.
You want to read an email?
Okay. Taryn from Texas. We're going south. Gives me a little y'all dig. She says, I really want to start my own catering business and realize the importance of starting small. I'm a college student without great credit, so most of my startup expenses are going to come out of my pocket. What's your advice? Ladies, this is a good one.
That is a good one. You know, I would say that you just have to network a little bit and find people who want to do what you want to, the services that you want to provide. I don't know, I'm not really going very well with this. Maybe you can jump in.
Family and friends.
The best thing that she can do, I think, and one thing that we did in the beginning of our business was we gave away a lot of free stuff. We gave away a lot of free classes. We get anybody that we thought could come in and take our class and really enjoy it and go out into the world and become a buzz agent for a paying customer.
Very good idea.
So maybe she has some friends that she could cater a dinner for. They could come over. They could tell 5 friends, and the next thing you know, maybe somebody's going to want somebody to cook for their birthday party.
I mean, she's dead on, right? We've talked about this before. Give away the farm in the beginning.
Give away the farm and save. This is a time you could be saving money. May not have too many expenses beyond college, which may be on a student loan. So save, sell what you have if you have to, if this is the time that you need to start and go for it. But giving away product and getting people interested in the idea and the concept and then running with it is an excellent point.
John, what were you going to say?
Yeah, control your expenses. I mean, the catering business does not require capital. It requires your own personal energy to go and capture the customers. So don't spend the money. Go out and get the customers. Bring them in. Give them free stuff. You need a customer to build a brand.
She's in college, right? Too much to take on? She's starting
I don't think so. I mean,
she said she was in college.
Yeah,
right?
but
we all started businesses in college.
Or in high school. I mean,
yeah,
you're not too young. You know, you're not too inexperienced. You don't need the degree to do it. It certainly can help. I don't think she's too young.
She can host them like those Pampered Chef thingies, right? Is that what it is, Pampered Chef? They sell utensils. I'll cook for you as long as you pass me on and let me cook for somebody else, and then she tells 2 friends and so on and so on.
Ponzi scheme.
That's it.
Yeah.
Legal.
Right.
Legal.
Right.
Come on.
I'm always fascinated when, about the issue of college degree, or how much education should you get, how much experience should you get. Elizabeth and Julie, talk about just your experience that you brought to the table when you started the business, what you were doing before, and would you have done, in hindsight, would you have done the same thing?
I spent 15 years working in Hollywood in the movie business. I represented actors, and I really learned to sell. So truthfully, I learned to sell and I learned to promote, and I learned that if you got behind something that you believed in, you really could help make it happen. And I used to sort of use my energy picking up the phone all day long, every day, trying to get other people jobs and turn their careers into a big deal. And it's interesting. It's just not that different. I mean, learning to sell and get behind something that you believe in really does translate. I mean, you know, Hollywood, it's not exactly like they show you in the movies where people are throwing things at your head all day, but you do work pretty hard. I mean, people aren't really getting up from their desks until the job is done, and I think that's also something else. I mean, you know, you bring a certain work ethic with you to a startup business, which is, you know, exactly what we were just talking about. I mean, in the beginning of her business, even if she's in college, the main thing is, you know, just like we did at SoulCycle, you know, in the beginning we folded the towels and went across the street to take out the trash and you know, press play on the, you know, on the CD player.
That's something, and that's something too that young people who are entering the workforce and entering, you want to call them cushier jobs in companies, that they're not willing. You see them coming into the workforce and they're not willing to do it. But again, if you've got the spark, you are. If it's
Gotta
in
get your hands
business.
dirty. But you started, you know, you're somewhat arguably in your infancy with SoulCycle, and now you're already expanding into the juices. I mean, what was the process behind that?
Well, you know, because we couldn't get into real estate, we really needed to do something. We have all this energy, we wanted to grow, and we just thought about what would be a great experience for our user, what would they enjoy, what would they like to do, and so it was actually a wonderful thing that happened. We have a neighbor on 72nd Street who has a juice business. He has a smoothie bar, and we got talking to him one day, and we said, you know, we're really interested in fresh pressed juices. We think they're healthy. We think it would be an interesting thing to add to the business, and so one thing led to another, and we're launching them in the next couple of weeks.
The juice line is called the Soul Cooler. And, you know, people have really, you know, now that we have been open for a few years, and because we really have kept our customer, I mean, people are ready to expand sort of their soul world. You know, they would like more. They would like more soul in different ways in their world, and so we're just trying to make it a lifestyle.
We're showing the juices right now, and as we go to commercial, we're going to give a shout out to our radio listeners on Sirius Channel 145 and XM 168. Thanks always for listening.
Coming up, the pitch. There's the phone number. You can call us 877-249-9626. But a woman who just launched her business, she's going to pitch it to our venture capitalists when we come back. Yes, finally, for real, the pitch, our second pitch in the second hour of covering a business, growing one, building one. I'm Dagan McDowell along with Tracy Burns. This is Your Questions, Your Money, my favorite segment.
My favorite graphic.
An entrepreneur gets to pitch his or her business to a venture capitalist. The lucky entrepreneur this hour is Erica Dublin, who is joining us from San Francisco to pitch her business idea to venture capitalist Spencer Tall. Spencer, again, thank you so much for being here. Erica, you just launched this website, and I'm not going to take it away from you. Just pitch your idea, how much money you need to raise to Spencer, because his firm actually funds a business that dovetails what you're doing. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Well, I guess I should ask how long I have. I've got my elevator pitch, so should
Go for it.
I
got the market, I got it all.
You've got a few minutes, but you know, the quicker and more passionately you can hit it, the better.
All right. Okay, so the website is called cjanefly.com, and it is for the woman traveler who wants to simplify and enhance her travel experience. So, you know, what sets us apart from the other travel guides and whatnot out there is the fact that more is not better. And, you know, generic doesn't always sell to women. And what we wanted to do is solve women's biggest problem, which is too many options, too little time. You know, today's time-constrained woman who's running around, whether she's a business woman or she's a mother of two, she's young, you know, she's 22 and just started her own business. She doesn't have time to sift through all kinds of guides out there to find the information that's really relevant to her. So what we wanted to do is introduce a new way to plan her trip from start to finish, and that was just simplifying travel guides and giving them original content, not aggregated content anymore, and bringing back the editorial voice and making it customized to them. So what we offer is free customizable travel guides, and they're designed by the user. So the user goes on, she picks her trip type, whether it's a romantic getaway with her husband or a fun girls trip or a business trip. She then selects her preferences based on her likes and dislikes, and then a original guide is generated from our back end that's created by a whole bunch of city experts and insiders from each city. And on top of that, we also have an innovative email and Jane experts that report on the latest and greatest in all things travel, from health and fitness, and a slew of different things. So,
how are you going to make money, Erica?
How are we going to make money? It actually has a lot of different legs. Obviously, there's advertising, but some people will say that's dead. I don't believe that. We have advertising, transactions, there's brand extensions that can go with this. You know, it's really about filling this need for these women and saying, here's a platform for advertisers to leverage their content, to actually engage the user. These women know exactly where they're going and what kind of trip they're going on, so there's already a level of engagement for them. Right. It's very targeted and specific.
Spencer?
The market's huge. Oh, go ahead.
No, I want Spencer to jump in here. Spencer, go ahead and ask, or ask whatever you want to, Spencer.
Well, it's interesting. First of all, thanks for your pitch, Erica. Travel and recommendation sites are on their third generation on the web, and most of them have failed because of the question that you asked, Dig, and the monetization issue. And I did actually end up spending a little bit of time into C. Jane Fly's site. It's a terrific site. It's simple. It's straightforward. There are not a lot of offerings. I like the recommendations piece. User-generated content is kind of the holy grail, but the challenge is that in many cases, you can't stay true to your user-generated content and true to your original mission and make money at the same time. That said, Erica's going after probably the most difficult demographic nut to crack, and that is, you know, women travelers, and it's also one of the most attractive. When I did a couple of test trips within your site, I clicked on a few of the hotel links, and then I went back and looked at my browser. I couldn't see any cookies that were, you know, tagged in there, so I didn't see any referral fees coming from that. I did see that you had some of your perks were linked up and were monetizing, and I think that that's excellent because it gives you integrity in terms of the recommendations that are coming in through your user-generated content. However, it's difficult to stick with that and be pure and still make a lot of money.
Erica, how much money are you looking for?
We're looking for $2.5 million to actually get to what we're talking about right now, which is being able to serve this up to the audience the right way, market it the right way, brand it the right way, get the content that we need up and running. You know, what we wanted to do was say, this is a need that needs to be filled. So we launched the website with only one city, and we have a bunch more coming this summer, to prove that this is something that women are asking for and what they need, and we're getting that feedback from these women, and we're also getting it from the travel industry itself. So we've already started talking to a bunch of different partners, including W, Giggle, we have Bliss, Fly Clear, and they're all saying we need to reach this market, and this is a great way to do it. And so with that being said, it's proven, so we can actually now go out and say, now let's make this thing really work. Let's monetize the heck out of it. Let's rebuild it. Let's do what we need to do to engage this user.
Erica, I really like your city-by-city approach. I think it's very smart. You pick destinations that, you know, women would like to go to, whether they're dragging their spouse along or their significant other. I think that's really smart because you can, you know, nail one city with your user-generated content, and your satisfaction should be higher as a result. It's amazing to me how many of these businesses that become successful are started out of personal dissatisfaction with the offerings that are out there. Even the previous company, SoulCycle, was started with dissatisfaction about what was going on in the spinning class fitness industry. And so I think you're really onto something.
What do you tell her from here?
Thank you.
Spencer, what do you tell her from here? She said $2.5 million. Is that too much to target initially? Your advice to her?
So, Erica, you know, we're in a very difficult market, you know, in terms of venture capital startups. Right now, many firms are dealing with what we call portfolio triage. They're getting rid of the companies that aren't going to perform, and they're busy with that. And in my industry, we're traditionally a very early stage. Allegiance Capital is a very early stage venture capital firm. But we're seeing the pricing of companies that have revenues and traction and customers and product, et cetera, coming down in the area where we would traditionally invest. And so the bar for brand new startups is getting even higher. You may want to split the $2.5 million that you're looking for up into smaller segments and maybe raise $500,000 or $1 million right now, and then go roll out 2 or 3 more cities, and then as that model gains traction, go out for the rest. However, that said, I think that Allegiance Capital would find this compelling enough. We'd be happy to take a meeting. In fact, one of my partners, Pete Bodine, is quite the travel expert, and I would be happy to set up a meeting for you with him.
And they're right down the road.
That would be wonderful.
And they're right down the road.
That's the beauty.
We're not hard to find. Yeah.
Thank you, Spencer. That was
the beauty
terrific.
of living here.
All right, Erica, we have to reveal, though.
Yeah.
You're very close to having a baby, are you not?
I am 8.5 months pregnant right now. Talk about passion. Talk about passion.
You go, girl.
I believe in this with my whole heart.
Yes, you do. Not that it looked that way. We knew that in advance. We did not.
It's written on documents. We can't tell.
But Erica, the best of luck.
That's good.
Erica, the best of luck to you. And again, we'll make sure that you two guys connect. But I think you know where you can find Spencer. He's done a
Yeah, we're not hard to find.
Okay.
Thank you, Spencer.
All right, thank you.
And Spencer, you're staying with us for the rest of the half hour. Erica Dublin.
Yes, I am.
Good luck, Erica.
See Jane Fly. It is up there, and you should see it. So write that down.
I mean, I went through it. I thought it was genius. I can't book lunch, let alone a vacation.
That's
so,
so
I mean,
true.
for me, this is fantastic.
All right, the emails, keep them coming. Also, the phone calls, 877-249-9626.
You can always email us, yourmoney@foxbusiness.com. This is the Fox Business Network, the only business network having a good time on a Saturday morning. Stay with us.
Welcome back, everybody.
I'm giggling.
Your questions, your money, your business. We've got a phone call. Let's get right to it. Scene from New York City is on the line. What do you want to know? Good of you to call in. Okay.
Or not.
We lost him.
We lost him.
We lost him.
It's okay. He owns a few
You know what?
businesses,
I know
so
what his
hopefully he'll call back.
I know what his question was about.
Tell us.
He's back.
Oh, and he's back.
Scene.
Magic of technology.
Did I get your name right?
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing?
I'm good. What do you want to know? Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, I'm basically owner of 2 websites. One is jobpublish.com, which is an...
Yeah.
Now he's gone.
AT&T, that's what it's called.
No joke.
Seriously.
No, I dropped my cell phone service in
He wants to know about free
advertising
advertising.
in an online business.
Right.
So why don't we just
So if
run
you're
with the
listening, you
question?
don't need to call back because we know what you want to ask.
I think we have the question. First of all, I would recommend that you go to both of our respective websites because we have an article there that we posted last week on The Street, and it's co-authored by both of us, and it's exactly on this topic: how to get free advertising in this market if you own an online business. So it's RutledgeCapital.com and thebabbgroup.com, and you can check out the articles there. There are a ton of ways you can do this. First of all, I have on my website in the forums under the Fox Business Entrepreneur Connect forum is Indians for Hire, and I'm really not kidding, where you can hire someone in India to actually go on the internet for you and market your business, blog about it, post in forums, post links, get other webmasters to do reciprocal links to your website and back and forth. And so that's step number one. The other way you can do that is to write articles. You can write in journals. You can write for magazines. You can get a system called ProfNet. You pay about $700 a year, and you find out what the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and Smart Money and all these guys that you'll see us publish a lot in put requests out there, basically for subject matter experts to write about. In the process, they'll say, Scene that does so-and-so in New York City, and they'll promote your business while you're building your brand as an expert. So I highly recommend doing that.
Ladies, how did you build it? I mean, give him some ideas about free advertising. You talk about giving away services.
We have never done any sort of traditional advertising. We really did just sort of a lot of guerrilla marketing when we started out. We've actually really never done any advertising at all.
So it's been all word of mouth.
It's been all word of mouth. We gave away, you know, a lot of free stuff. We definitely tried. We sort of felt like if we built it as a community and it grew outward, that would be effective for us. So school auctions, we'd give away, you know, 10-pack of classes at SoulCycle, or, you know, we would organize private classes for, let's say, you know, press or different parts of the community to come in and all try a class together, hoping that the word would spread. We did a lot of street teams, believe it or not. We would take our schedule and, you know, I'd hit 10 blocks uptown, she'd hit 10 blocks downtown. We'd all go out in our yellow SoulCycle t-shirts and just sort of get into buildings.
And in New York City, that's
we did. I mean, you know,
show them in tourist faces.
We shamelessly go with our baby carriages and beg doormen to let us in and slip them in the mailboxes type of thing.
That's the only way you get people to not like shove you in New York City is to have a baby with you.
Yeah.
Right? You need the baby carriage and as you're handing the stuff.
You know, we'd take booths at street fairs. We would do any sort of, you know, we figured that if we could build a good base in, you know, within one community, that's the nice thing about New York City, that the density would help us spread outward.
Right. Spencer, I wanted to know, free advertising, because of all the businesses that you've funded and developed and grown, just where you see that now, any advice you could give to our caller?
I think, you know, at the earliest stages, you know, guerrilla marketing, everything that everybody else said is spot on. Guerrilla marketing is very effective. However, at some point, if you want to really grow your business and make it, you know, kind of a venture-backable business, you're going to have to spend some money. But in the early stages, I think everything everybody said is spot on. One thing that I don't think has been emphasized enough, and with all of our callers, if you look at what the SoulCycle ladies have done here, they've created a partnership where there's not just a single person, you know, handling the load. So a lot of times you have an entrepreneur come in and they've got a great idea. They may not be the right person to actually go and execute on that idea. And, you know, from what I can tell, each of the three of these people bring something to the table that the others don't have, and, you know, they fill in for the weak spots that others have, and, you know, push on their strengths, and that makes a huge difference in terms of brainstorming and everything else in terms of your success.
I think that's a terrific point. Yeah, because you all fill each other's needs. I mean, is that something people should be thinking about? You know, I have this phenomenal idea. We actually saw it with like Fizzy Lizzy when she was here. She had this great idea. She went out and she found
sought out a chemist.
And she sought out a chemist,
and
right?
He wound up funding the business.
Yeah, we were just talking about this on the radio, you know, the value of partnerships and when you need one and when you don't. There's been many businesses in my life I've run, thankfully, without one. There have been some that I've run with one that, you know, had to get out of there pretty quick. I think it depends. There are a number of factors here, but do you need someone to fill a gap? Is one person a visionary, one person a doer? If that's the case, it's kind of like finding a life partner. I mean, you need someone that's going to complement whatever it is you're trying to build and run with it. And if you can find someone where you respect the other person's weaknesses as well as their strengths, and you can have that mutual respect and understanding of what the other person brings, partnerships can be a really good thing. But you have to have them defined enough that both people deliver on what it is they're promising to deliver, or resentment can build up really quick. And I've seen too many businesses fail in other partnerships because of that.
That was a big deal for us, I have to say. Julie tells a great story about that when we first started the business.
Well, when we first started the business, a good friend of ours said that we should do a homework assignment, and we should both take out a piece of paper and we should sit down and think about sort of what we each felt our strengths were and what we wanted to spend our days doing. And so we both came back to each other with these lists, and ironically, and this is why we always say we're such good partners, I mean, there was almost nothing on one person's list that was on the other person's list. And I think for us, what has been so successful is exactly what you bring up, is that we have structured our partnership so that we know what to expect of each other. You know, we share the same vision and the same goals for the business creatively and in terms of the way that we hope that the business grows. But in terms of our day-to-day, we have completely different tasks that surround the business. We're both extremely happy with what we spend our days doing, and we really do sort of let the things that are not within our area of responsibility go. And it's great. I mean, for us, it's worked really especially well. We both have young children. You know, we sort of, it allows allows us the freedom to be happy in our lives and have somebody else who we know is, handling the business on a day that
got your back.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. I mean, and I think that's probably what makes businesses fail. All right, if you have to run out, please keep listening to us. This is good stuff on the radio, Sirius Channel 145 and XM 168.
We'll be right back with more of your questions, your money, and your business. Stay with us. An email from Jerry in Missouri. Jerry writes in, what's the average startup cost for opening a business like a family restaurant? Dani Babb, open your fabulous book and tell us.
Unfortunately, I actually do know this statistic. It's about $21,000 in general, and then restaurants are 20% above that. So you can add about $4,200 to that number.
Wait, 21,000.
So about 25 grand.
Is your 20,000 is your basic general?
Basic general, mom and pop, really small restaurant where you're leasing the equipment and you don't have a lot of marketing costs.
And like your whole family's in the back.
But that's average, right? Exactly. That's the key. You're not paying your family.
Right.
But that's the average across the country. There's certain parts of the country where it's going to be more.
Spencer, what about the businesses that you deal in? What type of numbers are we talking about?
Be much larger than that.
Yeah, that's why I asked you.
Well, our average investments in a first round is anywhere from $3 to $6 million is our typical investment amount, and then we'll reserve 120 to 150% of that original investment as a back end, for follow-on financings. Because typically you do things in stages. If a company is a brand new startup, and let's say they're creating a software, you may give them $3 million to, build out their management team, their engineering team, excuse me, and build out the software. And now we're ready to launch and get to customers and do positioning. And so that requires another round of financing, and you go forward like that.
John, people are always so worried about the numbers. I mean, should they be? You always talk about the blue flame. If you have the blue flame, how important are the numbers at the end of the day?
Well, as Dani says, you don't need a lot of money to do most businesses. You need money to do some businesses. Some of it's on your own energy. But in this lousy economy, you can start your business on other people's money by using their facilities, their building, their equipment, their machines. There are a lot of things for sale out there that people can't find buyers for. You can rent them or lease them and pay back out of the revenues of your business and avoid any front-end expenses.
So like this restaurant guy could really be taking advantage of, unfortunately, other restaurants that are closing.
There's going to be restaurants that have closed and their equipment is not being used and they're dark and the owner will be trying to sell it. You can go to that owner and say, I don't want to buy your equipment, but I will use it and pay you a percentage of my revenues, or I'll pay you rent on the equipment. Because in this market, everything's for sale and there's not enough cash.
Did you guys end up, when you funded the business, did you wind up needing more money than you initially thought, or did you over-ask? Did you have plenty of finance or cash in the bank when you started?
It's funny. We do a lot of stuff on back of the napkin, and our back of the napkin was pretty good, I have to say. Yeah. So we were right on there. I mean, a little over, as I think probably happens a lot, but we were at that point cash flowing enough to kind of handle it. So we were lucky. It worked out well.
We've got a phone call quickly.
Bob from Kansas. Hey, Bob, how are you?
I'm doing just great. How are you folks?
We're great. What's your question?
I'd like to know how I get a grant to start my own mechanic shop.
A grant? Okay. Grants available? Mechanic shop?
A little less available in the mechanic area than in some areas, but not impossible, particularly if you're using something that has to do with what current events are in the administration, like recycling old parts.
I was going to say green, baby. If it's green, you're getting a grant.
If you can kind of work that into your business model, you'll be in much better shape. But you're going to have to write it up based on the rules of whatever that particular grant is. But there's a bunch of sites I can give you to go to check out for your specific area. The first one's my own site, which has a list of them. That's the babbgroup.com under grants. You're not a women business owner, obviously. I would say women business grants. Where we are, americasbailout.com has a bunch of grants for all sorts of different sectors. mdba.gov is one. And then also check out business.gov/finance and check out grants.gov for at least a comprehensive list of what's out there.
John, you're nodding your head.
He's starting a mechanics business, and the light bulb goes off for me.
Yeah.
Repair, because people are not buying new cars. They're keeping cars longer. This could be a serious growth area for a lot of
Well, the big news,
business people in the years to come.
the big blow-up of the week, of course, is General Motors and Chrysler.
Right.
And very likely there's going to be a dealership in your area that's closing, which means there's guys out there looking to do the kind of work you do, but it means that the repair and the repair and maintenance part of that thing is shut down. You might be able to go to their customers and bring them over to you. In fact, if you can go to that dealer will be looking for any way of raising cash. He may drive those customers to you in return for a piece of the revenues for doing the repair work, and he's got the equipment, and he might even have the facility. You can do it.
We're trying to talk a friend of ours into starting a scooter restoration business, because there's one person in the whole metro area that does it and doesn't do a good job of it. And he can do a better job, and we're trying to get him to do it. Of course, he has a day job, so he's got to work nights. But anyway, but again,
Dagan
mechanics.
and Jonas on their scooters.
No, we're just, again,
out,
gas
look
prices
out.
are going back up. Gas prices are going back up. People are keeping those cars longer. There is money to be made in fixing cars.
Yeah, we actually
Go ahead, Spencer.
we actually funded a company that directly addresses this called Driver's Side. And if you can look it up at driverside.com, and it's rather than the traditional, car-oriented model where you're driving users to buy new cars or, a car buying and selling network. This is for the maintenance of your car and for the entire, lifetime value to the customer. Because the entrepreneurs that came in with this idea said, look, with the recession and everything, people are going to hang on to their cars longer. Gas prices are going up. Jobs are being lost. And it's a terrific time to start a business like that, and we think that they're going to get a lot of traction. I should also say, to the earlier point, some of the best businesses we've ever funded have been started in the recessions, and it's a great time to start businesses because, as I mentioned earlier, there's the dissatisfaction, factor that takes place, but there's also a desperation factor, and when people are laid off and they're creative and they're smart, sometimes they pull back and they look at where they're passionate, and that's the time that they go for it, and some of the best businesses ever are started like that.
And that's why we are here, to remind people of that and tell them how to do it. Spencer, thank you for bringing it up. So we've got a few minutes left. We're going to take a quick break. We'll get to more calls and emails when we come back, everybody. We're here for you, and we're Fox Business. So it is appropriate. Kathy is on the phone from Oklahoma.
Oh, here we go.
Kathy, I'm going to say howdy to you from Oklahoma.
Well, thank you, and good morning, ma'am. Good morning, ladies. How you doing?
Great. Now, what's your question?
Yeah, very quick. I was just wondering, how does one start their own bookstore in this economy?
Kathy, why a bookstore?
Well, I think literacy is very important. Furthermore, I love to read. I can pull an all-nighter on a book. I'm an Oprah when it comes to that.
So you're geared up to compete with the likes of Barnes & Noble and Borders and all those.
You happen to forget Amazon.
And Amazon, of course.
Amazon is very important.
This is a jump ball. Who wants it? John Rutledge.
Come on, John.
If I were thinking about starting a bookstore, the first thing I would do is realize that's not a store to sell books. Because today, if somebody wants to buy a book, they can get it from Amazon very fast and very cheap, and they have infinite inventory, and you're not going to win that head-on competition. What you want to start is a place where people can go who love books and spend time. And so you want to think of it more like a Starbucks with books, where you're having a destination resort, and you'll hold them there with your ability to give them advice about buying a book maybe, or other literary subjects, but you can sell them things while they're there, not only books. But I think you're selling an entertainment service business, not a book business, is a way you're going to make your revenues.
Jumping off what John says here, I think in your particular case, your passion for this may actually be your most valuable asset here, because you will know what is it that when you sit down at home and you're reading your book that you absolutely love to do. Do you want to lay on a couch with a blanket and a cup of tea and light a candle? You could create an environment and a space. What's happening in the book market, as an author of 8 books in the last 2.5 years, I have unfortunately know a little too much about what's happening in the book market. About 80% down in sales over the last 2 years in general in books. That includes the Amazons of the world. What is succeeding in today's market, though, are the boutique models, in anything from hotels and resorts all the way to bookstores. So if you can find a way, as John said, to make this a boutique and provide some sort of environment, much like our entrepreneurs here are doing, where people come because they want to get an experience and they happen to buy a book and God knows what else you're able to use as a complimentary good while you're there. I
and
think
they want to talk with each other, because the people who be coming will be people just like you.
Right.
And you can create a little society of those people.
I think of that movie You Got Mail, where she had the bookstore for the little kids, and she actually had them dress up as the princess and princesses.
But honey,
she's
in
telling
that
the
movie,
story.
that business went out of business.
Well, no, I mean the end. I mean the beginning.
And Kathy, in terms of actionables here, Kathy, probably what you want to be able to do is walk away with something that you can actually go do. In terms of actionables, what I would do is first of all, create your social network site on the web. Start getting people to communicate with each other. Just start there while you're still looking for the brick and mortar space. Negotiate the heck out of a 20-year lease or a 10-year lease where you don't have to pay for 5 years, because that stuff's out there. So start with that. Start small. Get a little bit of inventory. Maybe even used books. There's like in New York City, there's a ton of them. I'm sure you have places there too.
Right.
Kathy, thanks for calling in. It was
You
good to
too,
hear
and
from
God
you.
bless you all.
Right back at you. God bless you. Spencer, just some final words before we take off, maybe for Kathy, but just broadly speaking.
Well, I think anytime people are starting businesses, they need to look for gaps, whether it's your own personal dissatisfaction. In Kathy's place, I think she got great advice from the panel. Something unique that's not being offered by somebody else, or an ambiance that's not offered by somebody else. Years ago, we did this company called Computer Literacy that only did, tech head books, and we ended up calling it Fat Brain and taking it public, because you could only get these technical manuals through us, so it was a limited inventory. So you may even look at some unique content, things like that. There are always gaps in businesses out there that can be taken advantage by the savvy and passionate entrepreneur.
Savvy, passionate entrepreneurs. What are your final thoughts, final words for people out there?
I think the final words are really just to keep it simple. Don't overlook what might be in front of you. Really look to your community for your support and the people who are as passionate about it as you are.
Julie?
If you're really going to start your own business, you need to do something you love. It's a lot of work, and I think it really only becomes successful if it's genuine.
It's about the blue flame, right, John?
Absolutely, and every person we've talked with today has talked about brand. The branding has changed in the last 10 years. A brand is not a logo you put on a can to sell a product to a customer. The brand is the belief in the brain of your customer and what happens when they do business with you. And everything you do builds or hurts that brand. And building a brand today is not done by spending money on it. It's getting customers to pull other customers into your environment. So social media, websites, and the experience of customers is a great way to do that. You're selling the belief in your customer's head.
John Rutledge, we'll leave it there. We'll see you next week. John Rutledge, always fantastic to see you. The beautiful, fabulous,
chock full of knowledge,
Dani Babb, and our special guest this hour. We want to thank them as well. Spencer Tall of Allegis Capital out in Palo Alto, California, and Elizabeth Cutler and Julie Rice of Soul Cycle. So if you haven't seen them, go visit them when you're in New York City. Tracy and I will be back here next Saturday, and we will be on Fox Business all week long. So thank you for joining us. See you Monday.